This lesson is the first in a series designed to give you the technique and theory you need to get fluent in guitar. And what I mean by that is being able to play guitar with music, whether the music's been pre-recorded, so like you're listening to the radio, or whether it's being played by other musicians who are improvising live with you in a band situation. So it's pretty exciting. It's accessible to beginners and people who've been playing for a while. We're going to cover a variety of different things, and we're going to start from the basics and work our way up. This lesson specifically, we're going to start with the major scale. Maybe you know the major scale, in which case consider this a bit of a deep dive in terms of technique. We're going to break it down, turn it inside out, and give you some exercises to help you make sure you're really comfortable with the major scale. And if you're a beginner, then I'm going to show you what I think of as the best way to play the major scale, and tell you why I think it's the best way to play a major scale. And this is an important step towards being able to hear music and play guitar to that music at the same time. So we're going to not do too much theory in this lesson, but theory will come up at some point in this series, but we'll try and do it in an interesting and fun way. So let's start this lesson. Okay, so if you've played a major scale before, you've probably played it something like this. And that's a good way to play a major scale as a beginner. In fact, it's such a good way that we are going to cover it now briefly for anyone who hasn't played a major scale before. But that's not the best way of playing a major scale, and I'll talk about why in a minute. But for now, let's just go through this and make sure everyone can play it. So I'm going to say the name of the frets that I'm playing. So we start on the 3rd fret, which means we're playing a G major scale. This major scale shape that we're doing, and the shape that I'm going to call the better shape, they're both transpositional, which means that you can move them around and the shape stays the same, but wherever you start it is the sort of the name of the scale, and that's kind of important, and it's kind of a bit theory. But we're playing a G major scale because we're starting it on the 3rd fret. So G major scale, 3rd fret, 3, 5, 2, 3, 5, 2, 4, 5, 2, 4, 5, 3, 5, 2, 3, and it's the same in reverse. So 3, 2, 5, 3, 5, 4, 2, 5, 4, 2, 5, 3, 2, 5, 3. That's a good way of playing the scale. It's important that we use the correct fingers so that we have this kind of finger per fret responsibility going on, which basically just means the same finger will play the same fret regardless of what string we're on. And that's not a hard and fast rule that we must apply all the time, but in terms of scales, that's what we should be doing. The finger that's playing the 3rd fret on the E string here is also going to be playing the 3rd fret on any other strings that we play the 3rd fret on. So let's make sure that we get the fingering right. I'm going to say the order of the fingers as we play the scale. The finger numbers are 1, 2, 3 and 4. 2, 4, 1, 2, 4, 1, 3, 4, 1, 3, 4, 2, 4, 1, 2, and descending 2, 1, 4, 2, 4, 3, 1, 4, 3, 1, 4, 2, 1, 4, 2. And it's a lot more confusing saying out numbers out loud than actually taking the time to just learn the scale. So that's a good scale. If you've never played a scale before, you should play that first, because the better position, or the better scale, the better way of playing a scale is this. Now if you're thinking it sounds the same, that's a good thing. That's the point. It should sound the same. We're not changing any of the notes that we're playing in the scale, but we're changing the position. The reason we're doing that is this position for the major scale is more flexible. Because it has 3 notes per string, we get the full 2 octaves of the scale within just 5 strings, as opposed to the earlier scale that we covered, which uses all 6 strings to get the 2 octaves. Really that just means that we can play a major scale rooted on the E string or rooted on the A string. The difference being when we get to the B string, which is often known as the tuning break, we need to just slide up a fret. Let me show you that again here. Slide up, and if I start on the A, slide up. So the tuning break, we slide up one. Let's actually break down the frets for this G major scale in this way. 3, 5, 7, 3, 5, 7, 4, 5, 7, 4, 5, 7, 5, 7, 8, and descending 8, 7, 5, 7, 5, 4, 7, 5, 4, 7, 5, 3, 7, 5, 3. And now I will say with the names of the fingers. 1, 2, 4, 1, 2, 4, 1, 2, 4, 1, 2, 4, 1, 3, 4, 4, 3, 1, 4, 2, 1, 4, 2, 1, 4, 2, 1, 4, 2, 1. I consider this a better major scale because it's more flexible, but also it's kind of giving us more of the fretboard under our fingers, which means eventually we're going to be just able to cover more of the fretboard in this larger position. But also this position lends itself to what I call the sort of master modal position, which is a 7-string pattern, which once we learn the 7-string pattern allows us to learn all 7 modal scales. And if you've never heard of a modal scale before, that's fine, we're going to learn about it in the future, but essentially it's just a collection of scales which allow us to extend the major scale across the whole fretboard, and different modal scales have different properties that make people think they sound a particular way, as opposed to one way as opposed to another, but that doesn't really matter for now. The point is this way of playing allows us, it lends itself more to the ultimate aim of this series, this course, which is being able to hear some music, find a note, play multiple notes, play chords, play whatever we want from finding a single note. So this is an important part of that. And yeah, I'm not going to try and persuade you anymore. This is the best way of playing a major scale, and I think even if it was just for the flexibility that we can play it on 5 strings as opposed to 6, that's enough of a reason. Also, maybe in some ways it's kind of easier to learn, although there is a bit more of a stretch. Actually this scale is kind of like more regular. It's broken down into this idea of, if we think of a semitone is 1 fret and a tone is 2 frets, we kind of have this 2-tone pattern which we repeat. So first string, tone, tone, second string, tone, tone, then we have semitone, tone, semitone, tone, tone, semitone. It's a lot more regular than the sort of basic major scale, which the finger pattern actually changes more. And that's really emphasised. If I say the fingers that we use for playing this scale, again, the regularity of this really comes through. 1, 2, 4, 1, 2, 4, 1, 2, 4, 1, 2, 4, 1, 3, 4. So again, if you're a beginner, play that way of doing it, fine. And if you find that the stretching is difficult, this is what you should practice for a while. But if that's fine, there's no reason to put this better way of playing the major scale off, because it's great. It's the better way. So we've learnt the major scale. Now I want us to sort of deep dive into it and really do some exercises that are going to get us really comfortable with this scale. We're going to turn it inside out and upside down and all that kind of stuff. So normally we play a major scale in a way that I think of as linear. A kind of a straight line, we go up the scale and then we come back down the scale. But we're going to play now in some non-linear patterns, which means we don't just go in a straight line to the top and back down. So we're going to start with what I call 2 steps forward, 1 step back. 1, 2 forward, 1 back. 1, 2 forward, 1 back. 2 forward, 1 back, 2 forward, 1 back, and so on. And you can do the same in reverse, although I suppose now it would be 2 back and 1 forward, but let's not worry about that. You don't need to play as fast as I'm playing it. You should definitely start slowly. But also I'm not playing it that fast, so you could definitely aspire to this kind of speed. But the point with the non-linear playing is just you should have it all memorized. You should be able to switch between any of these non-linear patterns we're going to go through. They don't have to be perfect, but they're just a really good way of accelerating you getting comfortable with the basic major scale, and also being able to play the major scale in a way that's play it in a way that makes you pull a funny face, but play it freely. That's the point. We want to be able to play the notes of the major scale freely. So we've covered 2 forward, 1 back. You should do it ascending and descending. And you can, all of these non-linear patterns, they have a really distinctive sound, so you can play it and hear if you go wrong. So let's move on to the next one, which is I call in 4s, which means we just play it in a block of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then wherever we started, we move 1 position forward. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. You see I'm starting on the G. 1, 2, 3, 4 to the A. 1, 2, 3, 4 to the B. 1, 2, 3, 4. And so on. Doesn't need to be perfect, but should be comfortable, and certainly doesn't need to be that fast. That's in 4s. Ascend and descend, listen to the sound, get used to it, hear when you go wrong, as opposed to just realizing that you've played, that you've maybe skipped an interval or something like that. So the final non-linear pattern we're going to cover is what I call it in thirds, because we're going to basically play third intervals. But if you're not so familiar with intervals, that's fine, that's coming up in a future video. But for now we can just think of it as sort of skip 1, back 1. Just again, always starting on G, and we're going to skip that one and go here. So skip 1, back 1, then skip 1, back 1, skip 1, back 1. Skip 1, back 1. So this is actually quite a lot to cover in just sort of 15 minutes. So you should take your time with it. These patterns, they shouldn't be easy to begin with. They will be tricky. I've been playing these patterns for years, and I mean not actual solid years just playing these patterns, but I've been sort of aware of these patterns and had them memorized for years. So it takes time to get comfortable with them, but it's well worth it. And the point of them is that I guess they sound good and they can help you improvising and using the scales and playing the scale freely. But also it's just gonna make the scale itself be easier. It's just going to make it more natural, less likely that you forget it. So lots of good stuff. This is a really good solid grounding in the major scale. The final thing we're going to talk about in the major scale is the sort of the interval map of the scale, so the distance between each note of the scale, and we're going to do that in a way so that it means we can play a major scale on one string if we wanted to. So we've talked about tones, a distance of sort of 2 frets going up 2 frets, 1 up 1 up 2, that's a tone, or a semitone, which is up 1, semitone. So we're going to do an open E, and we're going to go through the pattern which you need to memorize, which is tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. 2 tones and a semitone, 3 tones and a semitone. Tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. And why is that important? It just helps you think about the major scale in a way that's not just bound up in this pattern. It's important, and it can be useful to play a major scale sometimes, or parts of a major scale on one string. Just playing parts of a major scale, thinking of that pattern on one string. So in the next lesson, what we're going to do is we're going to look at a bit more at the intervals of notes, and not at all in the context of a scale, but we're going to look at intervals that sound good together. We're going to be playing notes across 2 strings at the same time, and we're going to do all of that by learning a nice little song which sounds good. It's got this kind of nice sort of, I'm not sure what kind of vibe, maybe like I call the song Paradise Island, so it's got a nice feel to it, but it's really about just us getting comfortable with intervals and how 2 notes can sound together when they're played at the same time. So that's a really important step in the ultimate goal of this, which is fluency in guitar, being able to pick up a guitar and play to any piece of music. So this was essential. Covering the major scale is essential. You've done it, well done, practice, and I'll see you next time. Like and subscribe and all that stuff.